Howdy, hi. This is Deer Job Sports College Basketball Picks and Predictions for Sunday, November 9th, 2025. We are looking at the best bets of the day. Let's get into the video. All right, first things first, got to take a look at the previous day's results. Another good day. We go 5-2, bringing our season record to 28 wins and 14 losses. Since we lost 2 games, we add $6 to the giveaway fund, bringing our season total to $42. Nobody gets added to or taken off of the ban list. It is still just Queens and South Carolina State. I was considering putting Milwaukee on, but they just had a rough first half, and they couldn't bring it back at the second. So we'll leave them off. They're okay. We'll back them in about a week or two and try to make our money back that we lost on them. So I'll recap this, then we'll get on to the 5 picks we got for tomorrow. First game. Good Lord, was this one way to start your Saturday. Alabama, St. John's, we had the over 170.5. This never a doubt. Alabama wins 103-96. Alabama's backcourt didn't matter if they started or came off the bench. Ridiculous. Absolutely absurd. You had Holloway with 21, Wrightsell off the bench with 17. You had LeBaron Filan with 25. They couldn't miss. They'd go one-on-one ISO every single time, whether it was a pull-up three, a drive to the hoop, a turnaround mid-range. It didn't matter. They got whatever they wanted. I almost wanted Slick Rick to go into like a zone coverage because they would just spread the bigs out wide. Zuby and Hopkins would have to go near the three-point line, and then Alabama's backcourt would just absolutely torch St. John defenders. They'd get to the rim or they'd just take a three-point and it'd go in every single time. Brutal to watch, but really good game. So shout out to Alabama. That is a massive win. Next game with Fairfield minus 4.5. This one got me nervous early, but then I was like, oh, okay, never mind, we're good. I forgot NJIT is horrible. Final score of this game, Fairfield 74, NJIT 53. Fairfield really didn't even play that well. 38% from the field, 35% from deep, but it was better than the Institute of Technology as they went 32% from the field, 23% from deep. They lose the rebound battle by 19. Both teams tied the turnover battle with 16. NJIT is going to have to be a fade. That first game against Fordham was a fluke. Their next games are at Loyola, Maryland. I will be betting against them. And then at home to Fairleigh Dickinson. I will also be betting against them again. Like this team, they're not good. NJIT will never be good. They simply get a bunch of young guys, they play there for a few years, and then they transfer out to a slightly higher mid-major program. So, thank you, Fairfield. Also, that line was completely wrong. Google said plus 4.5. It was actually minus 4.5 for Fairfield. But either way, wouldn't have mattered. They won by $1 billion. Next game, Vandy, minus 7.5. We also took the over 166.5. We have to have a serious discussion just about how bad UCF is at basketball. They let Vandy score 105 points. Final score is 105-93. UCF kind of dressed this up at the end. They were down 16 points at half. Vandy, 56% from the field, 40% from deep. UCF, 53% from the field, 56% from deep. Their problem is they lost the turnover battle, they lost the offensive rebounding battle, and they lost the free throw battle, shooting 79% from the line. So you can't really do any of those things and expect to win the game. SEC, massive day. You win on the road at St. John's, and then you also win on the road at a Big 12 school. That's going to make some differences come tournament selection time when they're looking at overall records conference to conference. +2 for the SEC. Finally, this was absurd. IU Indy and Butler. It opened 190.5. I got 191.5. Final score landed 192. Butler 112, IU Indy 80. What if I told you these teams shot a combined 21.5% from deep? 21.5, and this over still hit. They went 10 of 47 from beyond the arc, and it still hit the over. If Butler could actually shoot the ball from deep, this would have gone over by 30 points. Legitimately 30. IU Indies games are still mispriced. Unfortunately, we can't bet their next game because it's against a D2 school called Crimson Pride. Where they find these schools, I don't know. But their next game, it is Friday the 14th at Eastern Michigan. I will be hammering that over. I will put the mortgage on that over. Our losers, St. John's -5.5. Kind of talked about it already. Their backcourt just couldn't guard Alabama's backcourt. Whether it was Wrightsell, Holloway, LeBaron. They even had a big guy, a sophomore named Sherrill. It's 6'10 dude, absolutely massive. He'd step out and shoot the three ball. He nailed 2 of them in the first half. Like, how is this allowed? You cannot be that tall and that large and able to shoot the ball that well. That is reserved for Nikola Jokic and Nikola Jokic only. Stop it. Then we lost Milwaukee -1.5. Let me go find this box score. If I remember correctly, they got murdered in the first half. They tried to come back late, but it didn't work. Yeah, they were down 14 points at halftime, 33-47. They won the second half 43-39. You just can't. Whatever you did in the first half, you just can't do. Turnover battle, they won. Rebounds, they got murdered 48-30. Yeah, also lost the free throw battle by 15. Can't do that. So bad pick on my part. I thought Wofford had quit for the year. I still kind of think they have. Milwaukee just got slapped in the first half. So that's how I go 5-2. Let's get on to the picks for tomorrow. All right, first game we got Big Ten versus the Big East. I'm going to roll with Indiana -2.5. Also going to take the over 153.5. Neutral site game. Indiana, Marquette, they meet in Chicago at the United Center, which is where the Bulls play. Indiana, they looked fantastic in their season opener. I still have some questions about Marquette. They lose not like a ton of production, not a ton of actual bodies from last year's team, but in terms of production, they lost basically the entire team. Indiana, 1-0 on the year. They beat the absolute piss out of Alabama A&M, 98-51. Brand new team, not a single dude returns from the previous year's roster, and that is what they needed apparently. It's year 1 of DeVries. You have a bunch of transfers, including his own son. This is a massive team. The average height of their starting dude is 6'7". Their bench is deep. They use a lot of them. Although that could have just been the Alabama A&M game, and they were getting more bodies in. So maybe they do tighten up the rotation a bit. But they're still probably going to go 8-9 deep because they have just that many bodies on the team. Marquette, they're 2-0. It's not a very impressive 2-0, though. They beat Albany by 27. Albany is going to be one of the worst teams in their conference. And then they beat Southern by 18. If I recall correctly, Southern was like leading by 2 points at halftime, maybe down by 2 points. It was a really tight game until the end. This team, full of guys who have been with the program the entire career. That is basically what Shaka Smart does. He's kind of like a Dan Hurley type of beat where you recruit them young, you build them into really good players junior, senior year, and then they're hooping. But they lost a ton of talent. Y'all remember Cam Jones? He got drafted. He was their basically entire team. I don't trust him. Neutral site game. The Hoosiers are going to travel. They always travel well for basketball. Marquette, not so much. If it's like a high major destination like Vegas or Atlanta or Florida or something, yeah, Marquette will be there. Chirac on a Sunday? Probably not. Probably not. Give me the Hoosiers. Give me the over. Next game we're looking at, it is South Dakota State and Northern Iowa. I'm going to take Northern Iowa -8.5. I don't think these Jackrabbits are any good. Jackrabbits, they managed a 9-point win against Merrimack and a 6-point to Dakota State. That is a Division II basketball game. So they have not won a game this year by double digits, and they've played two teams who are egregiously bad at basketball. This is their first road game of the year in probably one of the most hostile environments in that part of the country. This is not going to end very well at all. This team is very young. They have two underclassmen in their starting lineup, one true freshman. They lost a ton of production from last year's team. Most of it wasn't even to eligibility. They just transferred out. I think they saw the writing on the wall, being like, hey, Our best player is transferring out. We're going to be ass next year. I should try to make some money and also transfer out. Their bench, it is basically all freshmen. They run a very tight 7-man rotation. I struggle to see them keeping up with the pace that the Panthers play at. Their only positive is that they are large. The 2 freshmen they bring off the bench, 6'7", 6'8", both 230-ish pounds. So they are big humans. Northern Iowa, they beat Cal State Northridge by 29 in their first game. We took them, and it was very nice, very easy. They called off the Dogs. They probably could have won that game by 40+ if they wanted to. Very veteran team here. They start 4 seniors in their lineup. Like I mentioned, the only thing they might struggle with is size. This is a relatively small UNI team. They only have 2 guys in the starting 5 over 6'8". But if they can just play small, manage to push pace, get these Jackrabbits tired, I think they can get it done. So give me Northern Iowa minus 8.5. Next game, we're going to rock an over. I don't know why this is not way higher. Texas A&M at Oklahoma State. You got a true home game. I'm going to rock the over, 169.5. Texas A&M, they are 2-0 on the year. They beat Northwestern State 98-68. Then they beat Texas Southern 104-70. This is the first year of Bucky McMillan, and it might take a while for the other teams to get used to how fast of a tempo he plays at. This Bucky guy used to coach at Samford. If you remember Samford's team, it's a lot of no defense, a lot of three-pointers, and a lot of running. They bring in a ton of transfers. 2 big guys, high major transfers from Kansas and Texas Tech. I don't know if you ever heard of Federico, but that is the dude they brought in who's the big boy. Not much defense. I mean, they gave up 68 and 70 to 2 really bad programs. They scored 104 and 98 while also taking their foot off the gas at the end of the games. This should be very high scoring. Oklahoma State 1-0. They beat Oral Roberts 95-71 in their home opener. They also brought in a ton of transfer talent, a bunch of guys who, again, don't play defense, and they score a lot. In their first game, they got up 72 regular shot attempts while also adding 30 free throws. So if you combine those, 87 shot attempts in a 40-minute game. And they also called off the Dogs being up 24 points with like 5 minutes left. If this is going to be close, I think the spread, last time I checked, was Texas A&M minus 3.5. I don't care about the spread. I'm just going to take the over, 169.5. All right, next game, Vermont and Brown. Instead of me trying to Google and figuring out this line and guessing, I'm just going to say Vermont spread. If I had to guess, I think they would be minus 5.5, 6.5 at Brown. I don't know. I will take them, whatever they are. Really not sure why this game is happening. Ivy League is horrible, minus a few teams. Vermont's been a powerhouse. Maybe this is like a home and home I'm forgetting about that happened last year or is set to happen next year. This game is on a Sunday. If you know anything about Ivy League schools, they don't have a student section because they're all in their dorm room studying and not doing anything. So this is basically going to be a home game for Vermont because no one will show up. Vermont 2-0 on the year. They've played 2 Division II teams, so I'm not really sure what you can read into that. They returned 3 starters from last year's team while also adding a few transfers to help in the size department. One of them is from overseas, so I'm assuming he's played a decent amount of professional ball overseas because that's just kind of the way things go. They have one of the best coaches in the country, John Becker. He's been there forever. This team is very good most years. Brown, they're 0-1. They lost to Siena 62-46. They scored 46 points in a home game. Their home opener, 29% from the field. They had 1 more made field goal than turnovers the entire game. This team is ass. They do not have a single senior in their starting rotation. Nobody can shoot the ball. Their coach is clueless. They don't have a fan base. Fade this team every game. They are probably the worst team in the Ivy this year. They're horrible. All right, now I did just talk a bunch of smack about the Ivy. I'm now going to back an Ivy team. Yep, that's just kind of how it works. Dartmouth is a home dog to Marist. I can almost guarantee you most of you saw that logo and was like, who is that? It is Marist, the Red Foxes, and they're a road favorite. That doesn't make any sense. Dartmouth, they had a very good year last year. They returned a decent amount of production. It is their season opener. They have not played a game yet. I think they win. Marist, they're 0-1. They did lose to Xavier by 4. That might sound very impressive. Xavier is not, they're not a good team. They should not be in the Big East this year in terms of looking at rosters. It's first year of young Patino. They realistically have a mid-major roster. And then you have Marist. They start 2 underclassmen. They are severely undersized down low. Their starting center is 6'8", 230 pounds. He's a true sophomore. They're going to have a tough time scoring down low. Dartmouth is a large, and they're old. Dartmouth coming off of a very solid season for them. Normally, Dartmouth is horrible, but last year they went 8-6 in conference play. They made the Ivy tournament. If I recall correctly, they lost to Yale in the first round, I think. Could be wrong, but I know they lost in the first round. They returned 3 starters, and they did actually have a pretty solid recruiting class. Normally, recruiting for an Ivy League is pretty hard because it's the Ivy and they care too much about grades. But they got some decent recruits who are going to play quality minutes off the bench. We'll see how it goes. I trust the Big Green. Marist should never, ever be a road favorite. All right, now you have my 3 almost bets, which are games I almost put money on, but then couldn't quite get there. So if you wanted to, I would not blame you at all. First one's Campbell minus 7.5. You have an 0-2 team who's gotten destroyed in both of their games, laying over a touchdown to a MAC school who's 1-1. That line just absolutely reeks to me, which is why I think you should bet it. Vegas is telling you who to put money on. Secondly, Missouri's only laying 22.5 to a military academy, Virginia Military Institute. Why is this number this low? If it was any other SEC school, they would be laying 35. So why this is only 22.5, I have no idea. You might not get much student turnout as their football team got murdered the day before. So I'm not really sure how high morale will be at the university. But 22.5 is a very low number. Then finally, FAU road spot at Liberty. This is that Field of 68 tournament tip-off thing. I don't know. Both of these teams have played back-to-back days. Liberty is the better team. FAU travel spot. Got to sleep in a hotel. I don't like any of it, so I will take Liberty. Well, I won't take Liberty minus 6.5, but I almost took Liberty minus 6.5. All right, that's going to do it for me in this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.